Welcome to What's Kickin' Columbia, the show featuring Columbia, Tennessee, the southern town with a kick. Human resources is an important part of any organization, and we spoke with the HR director of the City of Columbia, Connie Etzkin, to find out what they're doing to create opportunities.
Hi, my name is Connie Etzkin, and I am the HR director for the City of Columbia. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do in this office. We have quite a few functions: recruitment. We also do benefits, compensation, employee relations, diversity and inclusion, learning and development. The human resource function has really transitioned from the old days of personnel, which was really transactional, and now we're more strategic. The things that we do that are strategic for the organization are things like training and development, career ladders, workforce development, and basically being in on new projects and things from the ground up, because everything impacts, employee retention and recruitment and compensation, and everything that goes on at the city really is impacted by HR in some way. We advertise all of our positions on our website, which you can locate at www.columbiatn.com. And in the middle of the webpage, there's a link that says I want to, and a drop-down menu. If you go to employment, that'll show all the open positions that we have at the city currently. In addition to that, we advertise all of our positions with the Workforce Development Center, and also advertise in the Daily Herald. And then anytime there's a position that we think might be hard to fill or is at an elevated level, like management positions, we advertise in trade publications and with MTAS and with also the Tennessee Municipal League. City of Columbia is a great place to work, especially if you're service-oriented and want to give back to the community. We encourage you to go to our website, columbiatn.com, and see what's available, and encourage you to apply for anything that interests you.
Adam Southern is back, and this time he's here to tell us how Lieutenant James Wooten's legacy still lives on today.
Hello, I'm Adam Southern, and this is another edition of Historic Columbia, Tennessee. Now, recently we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, and Maury County sent off several of her young men to fight in this war. One of those especially has a connection that's very near and dear to my heart, the library, and his name was Lieutenant James Council Wooten. And by all accounts, he was a very bright young man. He began his education at the Columbia Female Institute, which wasn't unusual for a young man to attend the Columbia Female Institute back then, because they accepted young boys. They could go there for grammar school. And once they got to be of middle school age, they went on to another school to further their education. And when he got to that age, his family sent him to Columbia Military Academy. And I think there his brilliance really shines through, because he finishes his coursework by age 16. And he enters the Naval Academy at Annapolis, Maryland. Now, as a cadet in the Naval Academy, he is sailing off the coast of France, and he sees the French troops marching off to fight the Germans. And he is really overcome by this and wants to join the war effort right then and there. But as a cadet in a United States Military Academy or Naval Academy, he's not able to do that. So he sails back to the United States, and at age 18, his parents request that he asks for a discharge. And he gets an honorable discharge from the Naval Academy, and he enters MIT. Now, MIT, just like today, they only accepted the best and brightest minds back then, and Lieutenant Wooten fit the bill. And he had varied extracurricular activities. He was on the ballet team, but he was also on the tug of war and the wrestling teams and the editorial staff. So varied extracurriculars there at MIT. Of course, the coursework that he's doing, very difficult. But when the United States enters the war in 1917, he puts all of his studies on hold, and he enters the Army. And first he is stationed on the East Coast as a coastal gunner, but pretty soon they're needing officers on the front. So he and 2,000 other officers sail from New York City to France. And when he gets to France, he decides, I'd like to join this new aviation branch. And flying was still in its infancy. He goes for a 1-month training course, learns how to fly the flimsy biplanes of that time, and becomes an aerial photographer. So he would have a pilot that would take his plane over the enemy lines, and he would take photos. What he was looking for were weak spots in the enemy lines, or places where the enemy was massed and would be a good place for artillery fire. It was a very dangerous job, and that was ultimately his demise. In July of 1918, he is on one of these reconnaissance missions. He's attacked by 3 German planes, which they were able to get away from. And then 7 more attack. And Lieutenant Wooten was able to take down one of the German planes, but they were forced to crash land themselves. But they crash land just inside the French lines. And they thought they were landing into a nice smooth field, but what they didn't see was a big ditch running through there. And when they hit that ditch, it just tore their plane to pieces. And they were both okay, but Lieutenant Wooten was a little worse for the wear. He had a major head wound, had busted his nose pretty good, but he was patched up, and he wrote home to his parents and told them about this. He wrote the letter the next day, and it reaches home August 15th. And they published this account in the newspaper, and everybody thinks everything's fine. He closes the letter saying, "Don't worry about me, I'll be on leave pretty soon." It never happened. What we didn't know, or what they didn't know, when they were reading this newspaper account in mid-August, he was already dead. News traveled so slow from the French front that he had actually been killed in action on August 1st, 1918. His family would learn about this in September. And he was the only child of John and Emma Wooten, and they wanted to do something to really memorialize their son, make sure his name lived on. And since he was such a good student, and since Mrs. Wooten was a member of the Students Club, the founders at the library, they decided to start a children's library in his name. And today our children's library is still called the Lieutenant James C. Wooten Memorial Children's Library. And they created a trust fund in 1919, and that fund is still around, and it still generates revenue for us to purchase children's materials today. So his legacy does live on. For his services in World War I, he received posthumously, of course, the Croix de Guerre, the French medal, and also the Distinguished Service Cross. He also received the Legion of Honor from the French military, the highest military honor they bestow upon you. And his legacy lives on here at the Maury County Library, so be sure to come check us out and visit the library that's in his memory.
Buck and Board, a new eatery in downtown Columbia, is now open, and owner Debbie Cooper is here to tell you about one of Columbia's hottest new spots.
I'm Debbie Cooper on Buck and Board. Buck and Board came from the idea that I wanted a place to gather with friends, have charcuterie boards, elevated food, and a really nice glass of wine. We serve charcuterie boards, cheese boards, in-house made baguette sandwiches, wine, beer, lattes, coffee. We make our charcuterie boards with in-house made crackers and bread, cheeses. Our meats come from tall grass. Buck and Board for me is a place to come that feels elevated, that feels comfortable, that feels cozy. You gather with your friends, you have upscaled food, you have nice wines, nice beer, nice service. That's Buck and Board. As far as wine selections go, we had a couple of people who were experienced in that to help us choose them. I really like Pinot Noir from Wilmette Valley, so we have a couple of those. The beer choices, some of our staff here really enjoy craft beer, so they picked a lot of those. Buck and Board is at 109 East 6th Street, Columbia. And our hours are on our website, which is buckheadcoffeehouse.com. We're closed on Mondays. We have a really fun Wind Down Wednesday, and we're open later on Friday with brunch on Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 3. To find out more information about Bucking Board, check our website at buckheadcoffeehouse.com.
Thanks for watching What's Kickin' Columbia. To find out more information, check us out at columbiatn.com. We'll see you next time.